here at Dijon in the heart of the beautiful Burgundy country. Now, since 1979, the French Grand Prix has been dominated by the Renault team. But this year, Renault have got a big problem. It is that they are unable to race at 100% whilst complying with the very stringent fuel regulations which limit them to 220 litres of fuel. And as a result of that, they've said that they may have to pull out of Grand Prix racing halfway through the season at the time of the British Grand Prix. Well, with me here is Gérard Larousse, who is the director of Renault Sport. Gérard, what exactly is the situation?
The situation is not so bad as you said, because we have some Grand Prix now coming where the consumption is not so important. But for the end of the season, you know, it's very difficult for us to know now if we are able to solve our problem of consumption with the engine. You know, it's very difficult to change an engine during a season, you know, because it's longer than for a chassis. You can change a chassis for the next race, but you cannot change the engine. The problem went really in Imola, because in Zolder the race was too slow and the consumption was low too. But in Imola the consumption was very high, and I have to slow down Derek Warwick since 10 laps after the start of the race. You know, I think it's ridiculous for us, because a lot of people thought that the Renault was going slow, and that's not true, because I think we have a very good car and we have a very good driver with Derek. We are very happy to have an English driver, and I think it's not the right way to make Formula One.
Well, in spite of Renault's problems, Derek Warwick, second in the World Championship, albeit a daunting 11 points behind Alain Prost, with Elio De Angelis and René Arnoux tying for third, and Alboreto, Lauda and Rosberg level pegging at fifth. And in the Constructors' Championship, Renault are third behind the dominating leader McLaren, and then Ferrari with JPS Lotus fourth and Williams fifth. With torrential rain yesterday, it was Friday's times that decided the starting grid. And for the fifth time in the last 6 years, it's a Renault in pole position, Patrick Tambay's, with Elio De Angelis second, Nelson Piquet third, Keke Rosberg fourth, Alain Prost fifth, Nigel Mansell sixth, and Derek Warwick seventh. And both Britain's other drivers have qualified, Jonathan Palmer 21st and Martin Brundle 23rd. With practice almost totally disrupted by the foul weather, and with a lot of engine problems and the ever-present worry over the fuel lasting, it's a fascinatingly unpredictable French Grand Prix. Derek Warwick, 7th on the grid, but a very unhappy man today, because he was only 11th fastest in the warm-up and is not at all happy with the way his car is handling. And there, fitting a neck brace significantly, Nigel Mansell, who has gone extremely well in practice, 6th on the grid, but a very sad Nigel Mansell, whose mother died 3 days ago. Alain Prost, the World Championship leader, 5th on the grid and 3rd fastest in practice this morning, in great shape for today's French Grand Prix. And with the eyes of France upon him, in his first pole position since he joined the Renault team this year, Patrick Tambay. A clear track in front of him, and he'll want to keep it that way. Well, 79 laps to go. 80 laps including the warm-up lap, 220 litres of fuel. Are they all going to last the race? It's very, very unlikely that someone doesn't run out in the closing stages. And Piquet tries to get away early. Indeed, he does so. Just a little bit before the line. Keke Rosberg goes through, and it is Elio De Angelis leading, but now Tambay is right alongside him as they go into the first right-hander, and it's Patrick Tambay leading. It's De Angelis in second position. It's Mansell up into third place, and Keke Rosberg is in fourth place. And see the way Tambay is going, with the two JPS Lotus cars in second and third positions.
Well, it was a very messy looking start. I think the starter for some reason held the red light longer than any of the drivers expected. Tambay started the creep, then Piquet nearly went and crept, but recovered, because of course if you start to creep and then stop, you're on the brake just as everybody else is booting it. Can be bad. But Piquet's recovered into fourth place, and they all got away with it. He was also given, Tombe had to give him a bit of a nudge coming through into the first corner there. Piquet was up the marbles on the inside, but they all seem to have coped.
Tombe leads. De Angelis second, Mansell third, Rosberg fourth, Piquet in fifth position after dipping his clutch, and there is Warwick in sixth position and Alain Prost in seventh place. 1 lap completed, 78 to go. Piquet challenging and Derek Warwick. They're starting to crowd now Keke Rosberg. And if Keke Rosberg's understeering handling problem continues to worry him, we're going to see almost certainly Patrick Tombe there in the distinctive red-tailed Renault and the 2 JPS Lotuses pulling away with a pack forming behind Keke Rosberg. And it's Piquet in fifth position as Tombe climbs up to the parabolique. So lap 2, it's Tombe leading, De Angelis second. In third position, and there he is, Nigel Mansell. In fourth position, it is Keke Rosberg. In fifth position, behind Keke Rosberg, who's coming into sight now, is Derek Warwick, who's moved up a place ahead of Nelson Piquet, who is sixth. Now round the tremendously fast Courbe de Pouar into the finishing straight, and they're doing 200 miles an hour at the end of that finishing straight. Lap 2, it's Tombe, and look at Derek Warwick coming out and passing Keke Rosberg and moving up a place. So Derek Warwick is now up into fourth place, and it's Renault engine cars, first, second, third and fourth, because the JPS Lotus cars have the V6 turbocharged Renault engines. There is the race leader on lap 3, Patrick Tombe. And Alain Prost is coming up through the field now. Nelson Piquet in the Brabham, leading up the hill. Now there is the very distinctive Renault round the pass left-hander. And that's Derek Warwick that we're looking at. There is Warwick, there is Piquet. Behind Piquet is Alain Prost, who has already won 2 French Grand Prix in his career, both of them with Renault. There the second and third, Wiz going through in fourth position. Derek Warwick. There's now quite a gap between the 2 JPS Lotuses, and Piquet and the Marlborough McLaren of Alain Prost are battling for position, and Piquet has just been taken by the Frenchman Alain Prost. There he is, number 7, the man who's leading the World Championship, having won in Brazil and taken second place in South Africa, and then having won again in San Marino. Alain Prost then coming up through the field after starting comparatively low down on the grid, as we look at Derek Warwick now in the Renault, and Alain Prost is most definitely catching the Englishman in the Renault.
Yes, both McLarens going very well, and it was interesting that the Brabham, I said during the warm-up, that was very, very fast on the straight, but it doesn't seem so fast in the race. Of course, they run a very different configuration. The turbos wound up to maximum power, and Prost looks very well placed. He's threatening Derek Warwick, fourth place, and if he's quick enough on the straight, he'll be able to do it. Yeah, he's got the inside for the corner at the end of the straight, and so Prost moves into fourth place, and Lauda still a little bit of traffic behind him, but he's looking very strong as well.
Derek Warwick, of course, fighting his car. He's most unhappy with the handling of it, as I said earlier on, and he's done jolly well to do as well as he has. And here is Alain Prost taking that fourth position from Warwick in the Renault, with behind Warwick you see Nelson Piquet, with Niki Lauda coming through to pass Piquet. So it's Prost fourth, Warwick fifth, Piquet sixth, and Lauda sixth as you look at that picture. And now we are on lap 6 in this 79 lap race.
Yeah, so round here, the next corner, they've got a very fast one that leads onto the straight. There we go, you've got to get it absolutely right.
This is about 180 miles an hour around the Courbe de Pouar into the top straight, and now you're looking at the first 4 cars together. And between Patrick Tombay and Alain Prost, who is in 4th position, there are only 1.6 seconds. Nigel Mansell there in 3rd position. Ahead of him is Elio De Angelis, the race leader. Patrick Tombay, the man to watch. The man who has won the last 2 French Grand Prix at Dijon in the red and white car there. Alain Prost, the World Championship leader. In the McLaren. And he's going through and taking, just not taking, Nigel Mansell, who moves across on the parabolic, holds his 3rd position.
Yes, and Prost, normally the place to pass here is on the main straight with the tow from the car in front. But I think Prost is having a little bit of difficulty with the speed of those Lotus and their Renault engines. So unless Renault are going to have to turn their boost down towards the end of the race or back off the power a bit, they certainly look very good indeed. So their modifications may not be in vain. More sparks than Piquet bottoming and Lauda bottoming there at the end of the straight over the bumpy bit, and that's just because they're so full of fuel. 220 and Niki Lauda has finally found a way around the over to Piquet. I think Piquet's pulled up. So Piquet has stopped. That would be a great relief to Niki Lauda. It looks as if Piquet's engine had blown because he pulled up quite sharply and suddenly then.
And if he has, and we need confirmation of that by seeing a picture of a stationary Piquet, well, that's Beloff. Stefan Beloff is out of the race, as you can see in his Tyrrell. The man who's scored 3 World Championship points by getting a 6th and a 5th in the last 2 Grand Prix.
And here comes Nelson Piquet into the pits, so it obviously wasn't totally terminal. He's managed to limp his car around, but I would think that is Piquet out of the race. And just before that, here is the battle again between Mansell and Prost. Prost, current World Championship leader, and oh yes, that's a nice little blaze from his turbocharging area, I should think. So they're putting it. Yeah, they're very quick. They've got their own extinguishers. That's the Brabham crew themselves who have come in there, and the firemen as well helping. So at the moment, back to the Prost situation, he's well stuck. He's going to have to try and get past Mansell around the twisty bit of the circuit, and there he is, right in the tow, in position now, but that Lotus seems to be very fast. And Mansell's made it go the long way round, and Prost has still done it. So finally he's found a way round, and now he's got to set about Mansell's teammate Elio De Angelis.
This is lap 14. You are looking at the new 3rd place man, Alain Prost, who has passed Nigel Mansell, and here it is again. Watch Alain Prost, the man of the French Grand Prix over the years with Renault and now with McLaren, who is leading the World Championship and is in seemingly invincible form this year. Now chasing Elio De Angelis 2nd and Patrick Tombay driving for the Renault team that Prost himself drove for last year. But if Renault think they've got problems this year, there is Prost catching Elio De Angelis in 2nd place, hand over 5th. My goodness, Brabham have got problems, because now for the 5th Grand Prix in succession, the world champion Nelson Piquet has retired, and surely that must have ruined his chances of the World Championship this year. Patrick Tombay leads there. Elio De Angelis 2nd there. Prost is 3rd. Nigel Mansell is 4th. There is Niki Lauda coming up into 5th position ahead of Derek Warwick, who is in 6th place. So both the Renaults are running well, 1st and 6th, and both the McLarens are running superbly. Niki Lauda there ahead of Warwick. And here's the passing again. Niki Lauda going past Derek Warwick at the end of the very fast straight into the Villeroy bend. Alain Prost there in 3rd position, and they're going up to the parabolic. They climb from here and then go into the Bretelle bend.
Yes, you'll see that Prost had a look down at the hairpin then, which may or may not have been a good idea, because that will prepare De Angelis to shut the door for any manoeuvre that works like that. Now this is where Prost has his problem. That's Tombay going through, and now Prost is not as quick as either of the Lotuses around this part of the circuit, which is exactly where he needs to be. He needs to be quick onto the straight, although he's right on the limit. And of course, you have to remember, you see the car behind has a disadvantage through the corners, although Prost is better placed this time. Yes, he's close enough now. And De Angelis just making him go the long way round. And Prost, can he do it? Yes, he's done it. He's very, very quick into that corner. And that's Alain Prost in the second place and chasing Tombe now.
And did you see that Niki Lauda has moved up into fourth place ahead of Nigel Mansell? So the French Grand Prix is really developing with Alain Prost there. Now watch him take Elio De Angelis on the replay. There is Tombe leading. Elio De Angelis moves to the right. Prost goes through to the left and takes second place. Down to third goes Elio De Angelis. In fourth position is Niki Lauda. In fifth position is Nigel Mansell. Sixth is Derek Warwick. Seventh is Arnoux. Eighth is Rosberg. Ninth is Alboreto. 10th is Barbie. 11th is Senna. And 12th is Thierry Boutsen. And it's only a matter of time now before Patrick Tombe loses the lead to Alain Prost, as Niki Lauda definitely now goes past Elio De Angelis into third position. So De Angelis is fourth. Mansell there is in fifth place. There is Warwick, who is sixth, and Arnoux, who is seventh, bracketed between the Spirit of Baldi and the Osella of Ghinzani. And I think we have still got to watch very carefully Niki Lauda. We must not forget that Renault have had a lot of fuel problems. Now here is Lauda taking De Angelis and third position. Lap 27. They're coming up now to Jonathan Palmer in the Ram Hart. Palmer moves over and lets Tombe through. Palmer had a lot of criticism in the last Grand Prix for not moving over.
He'll get a lot for that too, because Prost was perfectly placed for getting onto the straight fast and passing Tombe, but in fact I don't think he's going to be too angry because it's inevitable anyway. I don't think any amount of brain power from the very intelligent and thinking Patrick Tombe is going to hold Prost off for very long. But I must say he would have every right to be very cross with Jonathan Palmer. That was bad, inexperienced driving, and there was no reason for him to cut back onto the line there and deny the people who are racing seriously at the front of the race their proper right of way. When you're being lapped, it's down to you to get out of the way and not interfere with the people who are having the proper race.
Lap 28, the gap increased slightly between Tombe and Prost, but I've no doubt that it'll close again, although as you see, as they go up towards the parabolique, Tombe and Prost in first and second places have got several cars in front of them. One of them is Eddie Cheever in the green Alfa Romeo, and the order now on lap 28 is Tombe, Prost, Lauda, first, second, third, De Angelis fourth, Mansell fifth, Warwick sixth, Arnoux is still in seventh place, Rosberg is still eighth, Barbie ninth, Senna 10th, Lafitte 11th, and Boutsen 12th. And that Prost went right onto the marbles, and he's in trouble. He's coming into the pits. I think he's blown his engine. That's on lap 28. I saw a burst of smoke, but he's going again. No, there he comes into the pits. Alain Prost, who was challenging for the lead so magnificently, is coming into the pit on lap 29, and that means to say now that Niki Lauda has got to take up the cudgels on behalf of the Marlboro McLaren team, and there is Prost in the pits, and Lauda is certainly catching the race leader.
It's a tire stop by the look at it, Murray. I can hear his engine still running, but it looks like a relatively slow one. They're having trouble with the left rear wheel by the look of it, so he may have something wrong. He appeared to go wide then, Alain Prost. I'm not sure whether something went wrong with the car, but he certainly looked as if he'd intended before that to go to the pit, so he must have made a very quick decision. In the meantime, Lauda, with all that traffic, had been quietly catching the two leaders, and you see Lauda's now pretty much up behind Patrick Tombe, so there's no peace for the wicket.
Yes, and out goes Prost, and Lauda has not got De Cesaris in front of him, and there's quite a story there, because De Cesaris, who's just been passed by Lauda, the new second-place man on lap 29, actually started last on the grid, because in practice it was found that his fire extinguisher bottle was empty, which is illegal, so his practice time was disallowed on Friday. Yesterday it was so wet that he couldn't put up a decent time, as a result of which he didn't qualify, but his teammate, the gallant François Hainaut, stood down at his own home Grand Prix in France and allowed him to take his place. And there is Martin Brundle in the pits in the Tyrrell.
Well, if Renault have got to the bottom of their engine problem, if they're going to last the distance without slowing down, then they've certainly got plenty of power, because I would have said, looking at Lauda and Tambay, and there is René Arnoux putting in for what looks like a routine stop. But Renault certainly seem to have got their engine giving the power, certainly giving the power. Whether it's going to go the distance or not, we can only wait and see. But if it does, then one could pretty well say they probably cured their problem. And I do sincerely hope they have, because I think it would be an extremely negative step to pull out of Grand Prix racing, even if only temporarily. I think that's, I mean, they said it was against their public image to be running out of fuel, and they wanted to cure the problem first. I think it would be far more against their public image to say, sorry, the game's too difficult, I want to stop and give in. And I think that they would command a lot more respect by getting on with their development work, continuing racing up. And Alboreto has just gone past us with his engine obviously blown up. There's lots of smoke and horrible things coming out the back of his car. You didn't see that, but we did, so that's Alboreto out of the race. But saying about Renault, I think their public image would be much better served to keep trying. And
Derek Warwick into the pits in 4th position when he came in. Now let's take a time on this. Stop. Now watch that board is saying number 16, and the reason that there's a foot on it is to remind the driver, and the number 16 is facing Warwick, to keep his foot on the brake so that the wheels don't turn, so that the mechanics can do up the wheel nut. And you saw that 14.9 seconds. Not particularly brilliant, to be honest. In practice, most of the teams, the good ones, were changing wheels in about 8 seconds, but there's a lot of difference between changing a wheel without the race pressures in practice and with the race pressures during the event itself.
The interesting thing is that Alain Prost, who was just in front of them after his pit stop, appears to have pulled away, so he would still, one would imagine, be the quickest car on the circuit.
Funnily enough, if Niki Lauda gets a lot closer to Patrick Tambay, he will have problems, handling problems. There's tremendous buffeting when you get close to the car in front, and you've got to pick your moment exactly. And into the pits now comes Elio De Angelis, who was in 3rd position, to have a tyre change as the leaders come up to the parabolique on their 38th lap. There is De Angelis in terrific form this season. He's 3rd in the World Championship, and that looks like an excellent stop. Yes, a very good one. 9.8 seconds compares with 14 seconds that pit stop we saw earlier on. 35-year-old Niki Lauda in 2nd place, 34-year-old Patrick Tambay, the Frenchman, leading the Austrian in a vintage French Grand Prix. A joy to behold. Magnificent driving. 2 superb cars. V6 Renault, the V6 tag-powered McLaren. Both of them producing over 600 horsepower. Leading now, in 3rd position now, it's Nigel Mansell. In 4th position, it is Keke Rosberg. In 5th position, it is Derek Warwick, and through into the lead. Magnificently goes Lauda.
Yes, that was a mistake by Patrick Tambay. A great shame. That's the first obvious mistake he's made in the race. He just slid a little bit wide at that slow left-hander, 2nd gear corner here. Now we can see it again. Now he gets into the corner, but he's sliding, you see, and he's missed the apex by a long way. So he's driven so effectively so far, but that really was a very bad mistake, particularly when you're leading a race. In that part of the lap, you don't have to be trying very hard. Now they can't possibly pass him. And that was a tactical error as well as an error of carelessness, because he shouldn't have been absolutely on the limit at that stage. Lauda can obviously keep up with him. There's no chance of getting away, so there is no hurry, and therefore Tambay should have been concentrating only on keeping everything straight.
Into the pits comes Thierry Boutsen in the Arrows BMW. This must surely be Niki Lauda's race. And there is Niki Lauda on his 45th lap. And into the pits now. Look at this. This is Patrick Tambay. Let's take a time. Stop. Driven a magnificently cool race so far, and it's down to his pit men now to give him a fresh set of Michelins and send him out very fast, and they've done it. 10 11.8 seconds according to my timing. But Niki Lauda on his, at the moment, victorious way on lap 49, building up a considerable cushion now. The gap between him and Patrick Tambay is now some 36 seconds, with Tambay 5 seconds approximately ahead of Nigel Mansell in third position. The gap between Mansell and Warwick, who is fourth, is 3 seconds. In fifth position, it is Alain Prost, who is 6 seconds behind Warwick. And in sixth position, it is Elio De Angelis, who is 4 seconds behind Prost. So it's a very, very close thing between second and sixth. Niki Lauda out on his own. That is Nigel Mansell leading that batch with Derek Warwick there. Mansell is third, Warwick is fourth, so you can see how close the gap is between the battle for third and fourth position. I wonder what the fuel position is now. We know that the Marlboro McLarens have been notable this season for their fuel economy. Their engine, their tag engine, was designed and built by the Porsche company, who have benefited from their many, many years of experience in long-distance racing. And here is Lauda into the pits. Now, this is going to be more than interesting. Is Lauda going to be able to come in, stop from racing speed, change his tyres, get away and up to racing speed and still hold the lead? This is the lap 55 completed, so you'll be starting his 56th lap when he gets away. And don't forget, he's got a lead, or had, of some 32 seconds, and that was a Renault stuck by the side of the circuit. I didn't see whose it was. That is Mark Seurer. I'm hypothesizing, but since we saw a Renault stationary and then Mark Seurer's arrows, it's Warwick. It's Derek Warwick out of the race, and I'm guessing that Derek Warwick, who was in fourth position, and Mark Seurer have had a coming together, and it looked to me as though Warwick was stuck in the car and that they were having difficulty getting him out. I hope that is not the case. There is Patrick Tambay, and out of this race already have gone Winkelhock and Piquet and Belloff and Cecotto and Alboreto, Derek Warwick, of course, and Seurer. And Tambay is now leading. Patrick Tambay is leading. What has happened to Niki Lauda? Our lap chart tells us that Patrick Tambay there is in the lead, so Niki Lauda's pit stop has slowed him sufficiently for Patrick Tambay on lap 57 in this 79-lap race to have taken the lead, and the gap between them is 9 seconds. Here is Prost into the pits for obviously a tyre change. Now, very quick one. This race has been 10 seconds. Alain Prost was in fourth position when he came into the pits. So the McLarens were second and fourth, and this is a long, long pit stop. Out goes the hand to say, we're not ready to let you out yet, Alain. It's 22 seconds already, and the left front is off. There's brake trouble. They've got trouble with, and it's not a carbon fibre brake, I think. It's a metal one. But whatever it is, this is ruining Alain Prost's chances as we rejoin on lap 60 now. The race leader, Patrick Tambay, in the Renault in this tremendously exciting French Grand Prix, with in second place Niki Lauda, with in third place Nigel Mansell, in fourth place Elio De Angelis, in fifth place is René Arnoux, and in sixth place Alain Prost.
Well, I'm worried that some of you at home may be worrying about what's happened to Derek Warwick. I'm afraid the camera went off. We couldn't see what was happening. We have no news from out on the circuit at the moment.
But the news now, the battle between the lead, between this man, Patrick Tambay, and you will see in the background Niki Lauda, is that Lauda is definitely catching the Renault. And Nigel Mansell in third position is still on his way to his first Grand Prix World Championship points of 1984, having failed to finish in all the previous 4 races. This is the 5th World Championship race of the year. And now, as we had earlier on, we've got a battle for the lead between Tambay and Lauda.
And Lauda with more grip now, maybe able to get close enough to Tambay, do these two right-handers. He would like to be a bit closer, but Tombay's air will be disturbed, of course, by the car in front of him. And Lauda is well placed and could even get past him this time as he pulls Tombay's slipstream up the straight.
And there's a tremendous scrap going on as we watch this one, and Lauda goes through and takes the lead from Patrick Tombay as they complete lap 63. Niki Lauda has regained the lead, and there's a tremendous scrap going on for fourth between Elio De Angelis in the JPS and René Arnoux in the Ferrari, with in third place still Nigel Mansell. In sixth position, Keke Rosberg. Seventh is Lafitte. Eighth is Farby. Ninth is Prost. Now watch Lauda taking the lead from Tombay as they complete the lap, and that is the end of lap 63, and the new leader, Niki Lauda, regains the first place, and it looks to me as though he's going to keep it now. And this would be, if he does so, another win, his 21st in his career. And now René Arnoux has moved into fourth position, ahead and unseen by you of Elio De Angelis, so the Ferrari is up into fourth place, and in third position is Mansell. And mercifully, the rain which was forecast as we look at René Arnoux coming down towards us has not materialised.
So we haven't got any actual news of Derek Warwick, but we've just seen the ambulance go past without its light on top flashing, and Derek appeared from a glance to be sitting up in the ambulance. So we can guardedly say that we think he's probably all right, but we're still desperately trying to get some news. We only just saw him way across the circuit in the ambulance. He appeared to be sitting up, and the ambulance did not appear to be panicking. It didn't have its flashing lights going.
6 seconds between Lauda and Tombay, 14 between Tombay and Mansell, 20 between Mansell and Arnoux, 15 between Arnoux and De Angelis. And those are the 5 that have all completed 72 laps now in this 79 lap race. Well, Niki Lauda, who retired in 1979 from Grand Prix racing and missed the 1980 and 81 seasons while he built up his own airline in Austria, Lauda Air, and he is a very accomplished commercial pilot himself incidentally. Came back to racing then in 1982 when he joined McLaren and won a Grand Prix in his first year. He's now won 20 of them. It looks as though there's going to be nothing stopping him from winning his 21st and getting those 9 points that I was telling you about, which will raise his total to 353, just 7 behind the all-time Grand Prix point scorer, Jackie Stewart, with 360 points. And I have little doubt that Niki Lauda will go on and beat Jackie Stewart's total to become the highest point scorer of all time in Grand Prix racing. A magnificent tactician, a superb driver, a very wily politician, and a very wealthy man as a result of it all. And he goes through now and completes his 74th lap. You see Tombay is still very much in touch visually, because as Lauda crests the rise, Lauda crests the rise and Tombay comes through 7 seconds after him. He's dropping back, but he's still in touch. The leader. Mansell third, Arnoux fourth. So it's a McLaren leading, and the Renault second, the JPS third, and the Ferrari fourth.
Yes, I should think that with their previous record this season, the difficulties that Renault had, that Patrick Tombay will now be thinking of conserving his second place, for which he has a very comfortable lead, and not trying to chase Lauda. He's seen that Lauda would appear to have plenty in hand, and I would think he'll be more anxious about his own fuel going the distance than about the alternative tactic he had would be to push Lauda as hard and try and make Lauda run out, like he by running on brutally said. But if I was in Tombay's shoes, I'd be slowing the car right up now at this late stage and trying to just secure second place.
Martin Brundle is in the pit. And here goes Niki Lauda then over the line to complete 78 laps to get the signal from the official there that you are on. Watch the official on the left. He holds up his hand and now tells Patrick Tombay in second place that they have 1 lap to go. So it's less than 2.36 miles now, and Lauda will go round the left at the Britel, the first left, and he's there now. He drops downhill. This is about 140 miles an hour into the parabolique. The right-hander climbing now in 4th gear up to 130 miles an hour and coming home to complete his 21st win in just a mile or so.
Yes, another very exciting race, this one, but a very convincing win. McLaren's looked favourites, and it they really are proving very dominant. So a hard but never worrying day's work for Nicky. He always looked in command once Alan Prost had got into trouble, and even though he had come through from 9th place on the grid, and so Nicky Lauda takes the checkered flag to win the French Grand Prix, and great rejoicing for the McLaren team.
So a magnificent 21st Grand Prix victory for Nicky Lauda, with Patrick Tombay in 2nd place, Nigel Mansell in 3rd, René Arnoux 4th, Elio De Angelis in 5th position, and Keke Rosberg in 6th place. Now, Alain Prost holds his World Championship lead, but Nicky Lauda moves up into 2nd place, only 6 points behind his teammate. 3rd equal, Derek Warwick and René Arnoux. In 5th place, Elio De Angelis, and in 6th place, Keke Rosberg. In the Manufacturers' Championship, McLaren have increased their already considerable lead to 20 points ahead of Ferrari, with Renault failing to win the French Grand Prix in 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship. And waiting to talk to Nicky Lauda, the race winner, is John Watson.
Nicky Lauda, fantastic race, congratulations. But it seemed one in which there's terrible trouble with back markers when you're having to lap them.
It was a difficult race for me because in the beginning I was not in the lead, so I finally had to fight my way through. And then I had my pit stop, which wasn't too fantastic. I lost a little bit of time. And as you know, the circuit is very short here, so you're lapping people all the time. And in traffic, trying to fight and pass other people is difficult.
Was in fact your pit stop necessary, because at the time you came in you had quite a lead on Tambay, and many people thought that you could continue through without making a stop?
I think it was the right decision to stop, because you go much better if you have a fresh set of tires on.
Derek, you've hobbled into the picture quite literally, and no one is happier to see you than all of us are. What exactly happened?
Well, I was following Nigel, and we were behind Shura, who we were lapping, and Nigel braked to go on the inside, and then had to brake extra hard because Shura came over, and I locked up, touched wheels with Shura, and the suspension broke and come up through and done my leg.
We were all obviously terribly worried when we saw you stuck in the car. What's the net result of it all?
Well, the car's obviously feeling a bit sick, and I'm hurting.
Now listen, you were following Mansell. Were you going to get past him?
Oh, easily, yes.
What does Mansell think about that?
Well, I'm sorry that Derek had the problem, because for sure he was giving me a hard time, but it would have been a good race.
Nigel, your first points of 1984. Take us through the race very quickly.
Well, basically, I got a very, very good start, and then I tried to get past my teammate Elio De Angelis, but he didn't like the idea of that, so I dropped back a little bit and just sat there watching. And then we had an early pit stop because my one rear tyre just started to give way a little bit. But on the whole, it performed very, very well indeed.
The Renault engine cars have had trouble with fuel consumption this year. Did you have any?
I didn't, but I must confess, because it's the first race I've gone the distance, that the last 5 laps, the old heart was, fluttering as to whether I'd finish or not.
Well, if ever there was a circuit built for you, gritty Mansell, it's Monaco, and that's in 2 weeks' time. How do you feel about it?
I know, it's fabulous, isn't it, Murray?
Well, what are you going to do?
What am I going to do? I think we'll have to stick it on pole and try and win the race.
You're now 18 points, 6 behind your teammates. How do you feel for the next coming race at Monte Carlo?
John, as you know, the last 3 races I had terrible problems. I could never finish, stupid little things going wrong, so I'm happy that the luck has changed finally, and I made up some points. I think now the chances are getting much better to fight and win, and I will keep on driving in Monte Carlo like I did here, and then we'll see what result I can get.
With Monte Carlo being the next Grand Prix, and looking back to last year when we had an embarrassing situation where 2 cars didn't qualify for the race, what kind of preparations are being made for Monte Carlo this year to ensure that both cars make the race?
I'm going tomorrow to Clermont-Ferrand to test there for 3 days, especially Monte Carlo type circuit. So we're really trying our best from the team point of view to prepare the cars so that they really suit on first day's practice of Monte Carlo, because this was our problem last year. On the second day everything was alright, as you know, but the first day was the problem.
At the 5th Grand Prix of the year then, a magnificent victory for Lauda and McLaren. But in 2 weeks' time, we move from France to Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix, and as ever, Grand Prix will be there.